I'm Bree Krause. Welcome to Airborne Unlimited for Wednesday from AirVenture 2016 at Whitman Regional Airport. On our program today, WomenVenture kicks off at AirVenture. Tom Patton talks safety with the NTSB boss. The CAF joins in honoring women's contribution to aviation. Those stories and more are coming up on this edition of Airborne Unlimited. ANN's Maxine Scheer attended the kickoff event to WomenVenture, the Women in Aviation Breakfast at the EAA Nature Center. The breakfast was attended by over 400 aviation enthusiasts, women and men, who were treated to a number of inspirational speakers.
Women Aviation's had a breakfast here at Oshkosh for close to 20 years now, and about 9 years ago we just said, we had the breakfast, but there's so many other ladies out here at AirVenture, and they never get a chance maybe to see each other because we're scattered here and there. So why don't we get everybody together in the plaza and take a picture? I'm kind of nonchalant, but that's what's happening now. So it starts off the day with the Women Aviation Breakfast. We have 400 people this morning, some wonderful speakers. Now we're getting ready to head over to Boeing Plaza at 11 for the photo shoot, and there's an Alaska Airlines flight, we understand, coming in with an all-female crew, which will be cool. And then at lunch today in the Theater of the Woods, there's a WomenVenture lunch happening. It's just a great networking day, and just have some fun too.
I have the privilege of leading the Space Launch Systems manufacturing operations. We're located in New Orleans, Louisiana, and we are currently building the core stage for the world's largest rocket, Space Launch Systems. We will launch in December of 2018, and eventually in 2021 we will launch again, and then out in the missions in the future, our journey to Mars begins.
So last year in April, my grandmother, Elaine Harmon, who was a Women Air Force Service pilot, passed away, and she wanted to be at Arlington National Cemetery, and they told us no. So my family launched a campaign to amend the original law granting the WASP veteran status to allow them to be at Arlington. And Representative Martha McSally, who is a 26-year Air Force veteran, led the campaign in Congress and got a law introduced and passed by the President in May. So now all the WASP are eligible to be in Arlington National Cemetery if they so desire. It was really meaningful to have the support of the aviation community, specifically women in aviation, because obviously the WASP are, the influence to a lot of those women, and it's meaningful to see them here supporting our campaign for my grandmother and all the WASP at Arlington.
And this report from the field, ANN News editor Tom Patton talks with the NTSB Chairman in a discussion that includes the FAR Part 23 rewrite and other issues that affect general aviation safety.
NTSB Chairman Christopher Hart, thank you first of all very much for taking some time to talk with us today.
Thank you.
I want to talk with you just for a moment about the Part 23 rewrite and how that's going to affect, you think, aviation safety.
We're very excited about Part 23 because there are so many new developments, new technologies, and they're not going to do any good unless they're in the airplane. So Part 23 helps that process of getting new technologies into the airplane, and we're excited to see that happen.
When we're talking about safety, and I know that you've had a big push on angle of attack indicators and things of that nature, are there specific technologies that you're looking at that you think would really benefit aviation safety?
Well, the angle of attack indicator is one because loss of control is one of the tallest poles in the tent. That creates more than 40% of the general aviation fatalities. So the angle of attack indicator is an exciting one. We're seeing lots of other exciting ones, and that's one of the advantages of having a performance standard instead of a prescriptive standard, is because all these new ideas can come to the fore, and people won't be discouraged because they met the prescription, so now we're not going to go any further on that one. Quite the contrary, they will be excited to go beyond that and meet the performance standard.
Are you still seeing a steady trend in general aviation fatalities and regular accidents, and what can the NTSB do to try and reduce those numbers?
Well, that number of fatalities in general aviation has been stubbornly constant, and we've been struggling with that for years. That's why we're excited to see that general aviation is taking the commercial aviation example, which is collaboration, bringing everybody to the table who's got a dog in the fight and working together on a common problem so that we can come up with a common solution that everybody wins. So that's our hope for the future, is to get, when commercial aviation started it, they were stuck on a plateau as well. General aviation is stuck on a plateau. I think this can help get them off of it.
One of the big things in aviation right now is unmanned aircraft, particularly the small UAVs. Does the NTSB have any indication of how they might be able to handle accidents that might occur between UAVs and manned aircraft?
Well, we've investigated several UAV accidents, but so far, knock on wood, they've all been single vehicle accidents, no collisions. We're also, by the way, using UAVs to help us with our investigation, so we're a user as well. But we're trying to, nobody has the silver bullet on how to keep these vehicles from crashing. That's one of the big challenges, is how can we make sure there's no collision, because collision may well be disastrous.
So what is the NTSB's top priority for aviation right now?
Well, we've got quite a few priorities. I mean, we look at automation, for example. The good news is there's more automation. The bad news is there's more automation. So we're looking at that one. We're looking at fatigue. We're looking at distraction. We have now fatal accidents in every mode of transportation because of distraction, typically from a cell phone. We're looking at impairment. We're seeing, trends the wrong direction in terms of Americans using drugs more, and we're seeing that more in fatally injured pilots. So we have a number of key areas that we're looking at where improvement needs to be made.
Well, Chairman Hart, thank you very much for taking a few minutes to talk with us. Really appreciate your time, and welcome back to Oshkosh.
Well, thank you, and thank you for helping us get the word out.
After the break, we'll hear about a new CAF program. We'll take a look at the first Airbus made in the USA, and Mooney steps up with design improvements.
My heart was beating.
I thought I was confident enough to make a safe flight.
The visibility was all changing on me as I was progressing farther along in my flight. It was a wake-up call. I know that Climate Drive made me a better, safer pilot.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
Concorde's recombinant gas RG series sealed battery technology produces a high-performance battery with the advantages of being pre-tested and fully charged at the factory. Find out more about Concorde's entire line of batteries at www.concordebattery.com. Concorde, the heart of your aircraft.
Welcome back to Airborne, coming to you this week from AirVenture 2016 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. If you've seen something really cool around Oshkosh, let us know with the hashtag OSH16Coolest on your social media posts. The CAF joined in recognizing women's role in aviation by announcing a program that honors the women Air Force Service pilots. ANN's Jim Campbell brings us a story.
Stephen, on a day that celebrates women in aviation through WomenVenture and other programs, you have a really interesting announcement. I frankly got blindsided by this one. I knew you were doing something. I wasn't aware of the extent of what you're anticipating here, but pretty exciting stuff.
Well, it is. Our Red Tail program has done so much for us for education, where we take the story of the Tuskegee Airmen and inspire young kids to rise above their circumstances the way the Tuskegee Airmen did. We wanted to take another group of socially disadvantaged people from World War II and say, let's tell their story about what they had to do to overcome odds. And really, World War II changed the role of women in this country. If you think about it, they came out of the kitchen, came into the workforce, into the cockpit, and when they were thought somewhat in that time that they couldn't do it. But we had to get these airplanes from one place to another, and the WASP did it. So we want to tell the story to young girls of today and young people of today. Hey, if these women could rise above their circumstances and change their perception in this community in life to achieve their dreams, so can you.
What's the whole program encompass now?
So what we plan to do is we plan to produce a movie like the Red Tail Rise Above movie. We want to produce a movie that tells the story of the WASPs and tells that history, but at the same time talks about the 6 principles that they rose above their challenges to achieve their dreams. We're looking to tell a story of a young girl of today who comes and talks to her grandmother and says, feels like maybe she's not accomplishing all that she can because of certain pressures. And the grandmother says, well, let me tell you a story, and tells her story as a WASP. And then we use the history of the WASP and tell what went on and show vintage film and footage and interviews with the women of today that are still alive from the WASP, and they tell their story in an emotional manner, and it really inspires young people. And we want to make an experience too. It has to be fun. Kids aren't going to be engaged just by pure history. So as we do in the Red Tail Rise Above movie, we fly you in a Mustang, so you feel like you're in the cockpit and you get that spatial disorientation feeling of flying. And we plan to do that, make it an experience to fly with the WASPs.
The first US-made Airbus A321 airliner showed up at AirVenture 2016 in the colors of JetBlue Airlines. Made in Mobile, Alabama, it carries the moniker of BluesMobile.
So the airplane we just all came in on, the JetBlue airplane here, you can see it's named BluesMobile. And we're on a mission from God, for those of you who remember the movie. We're on a mission from God about building Airbus aeroplanes here in the USA. BluesMobile is the very first Airbus airplane ever to be built in the USA at our factory in Mobile, Alabama, hence the name.
Thank you, sir, for including JetBlue in this historic day as we highlight American craftsmanship and the first Airbus made in the U.S. And I am proud to say also that on the day that Airbus delivered this aircraft, this very aircraft to us, I had the pleasure and privilege of being in the right seat for that first departure out of Mobile as well. So a real thrill for me.
We're currently building 1 aeroplane a month in Mobile. By the end of next year, we'll be building 4 a month. We're anticipating we'll go higher than that. All A321s, all being delivered to US customers. But this was the very first one, so it has a special meaning for us. And it was also special that this airplane took delivery in April to JetBlue. But earlier today, about 4 hours ago, JetBlue announced yet another order for another 30 Airbus aeroplanes, all A321s, including potentially our long-range version.
ANN's Jim Campbell talked with Mooney and found out that their latest aircraft is about a lot more than just an added door.
Derek, obviously, Mooney being back at Oshkosh and in force is an exciting thing for anybody in the aviation spectrum. Tell us a little bit first about what's happening new with the M20, and then let's talk a little bit about the M10.
Jim, what's first happening with the M20 is, of course, the new E-glass composite shell that allows us the ability to do the second pilot side door. We've also completely reimagined the interior. We've added all sorts of new features, new illuminated switches which provide both functionality and indication of what it's doing. A completely redesigned seat cushion that allows a much more comfortable cabin environment. And I think it's going to be something you're going to like when you come over and fly the airplane, see it, and let's get a little more information to you then.
What happened in the overall performance and handling of the airplane? Anything?
No, it's still the same airplane. It's a 242-knot aircraft. The acclaim is, of course, it's the fastest production single-engine airplane still. The Ovation at 197 knots remains the fastest normally aspirated production airplane, so nothing's changed there. They're still at the top of the stack.
And the M10?
The M10 is in development. We're expecting a certification around 2018. We've got a certification design review this quarter that's coming up. So we'll have a good definition of the feature set, and that aircraft is going through flight test now and hitting all of its milestones right on schedule.
Derek, thanks for joining us at Airborne and Aero-TV.
Thank you very much, Jim. Enjoyed it always.
After the break, Jim Campbell and Jack Pelton talk about aviation business practices.
2020 is coming. Will you be ready? WIPAIR's ADS-B program takes the stress out of the mandate by allowing you to reserve shop capacity in 2016, 2017, or 2018. For more information, visit wipair.com/ADSB and fill out a short form to request 3 custom quotes. See what WIPAIR can do for your aircraft.
Are you stall smart? Ever since Orville and Wilbur took to the skies, pilots have been taught that the more airspeed you have, the better off you are. But over the last 100 plus years, we've learned that's not always the case. Take stalls, for example. The common belief is that if you have sufficient airspeed, the aircraft won't stall. The fact is, an airfoil always stalls at the same critical angle of attack in relation to the relative airflow, regardless of airspeed, configuration, or weight. Learn more at aspenavionics.com.
Welcome back to Airborne Unlimited on Aero-TV, coming to you this week from AirVenture 2016 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It's the 3rd day since EAA AirVenture 2016 opened its gates, and ANN CEO and Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell talks with EAA President Jack Pelton about aviation policing its own business practices. Pelton says tough lessons have been learned.
We wound up with a very interesting series of problems started with a contract put forth by Icon Aircraft, and then a number of other disappointments that showed that the company's promises and expectations were not even being remotely met. What do we do first as a community to clean up our own act? Is there a need for a Better Business Bureau or some kind of guidance so that when companies get a little ahead of themselves, we can kind of draw it back before we get into full-blown disasters, as may be happening now?
Boy, that's a tough one because of,
we always want to throw you the softballs.
Yeah, I know you do. But and the hard part is because we're sitting at EA saying we think the great part of what fosters our industry is innovation. I mean, and you're certainly a big proponent of that. So we're encouraging innovation. We're encouraging people to take risks, take chances. I think for them, this calendar next 12 months is going to be a very telling period of time. They've gone out and said that they've got production issues and they didn't commit to when deliveries would start. There's going to have to be some very credible progress being made and commitments kept over this next 12 months for them to continue to remain viable.
Was there a point here in which there was an opportunity that we should have taken, especially those of us in the media, but is there a point at which we should collectively have said, slow down?
They're a phenomenal marketing machine, and I don't know, I don't know when you say slow down that they weren't giving anybody scenes behind the, behind the curtain, if you will. So I think everybody got caught by surprise. We certainly thought we were getting an airplane this year, and felt it was the best decision for us was to not do that for an airplane that they were giving us to auction, that until they get their production up and running and their support and services in place, until we know we're on a better glide path.
That was a gutsy decision. No matter either way, you'd have come out 100, 200, whatever, 1,000 ahead, and that's not chump change in anybody's mind. But to say, nope, not now, not yet, that's kind of gutsy.
Well, yeah, and we're going to miss our plan because of that this year. The issue there is we have at EAA our own value network and credo that we stick to, and we did not feel that there was too high a risk that somebody in good faith wanting to buy this product from us, at an auction and make a donation, and if it didn't hold up to what our standards were and they ended up with something that's orphaned or not supported, or we just couldn't live with that. We aren't just taking people's money, stick in our pocket and not care about what's going on, so we wanted to protect that.
What is the lesson we need to take out of this at this point for now, from the whole Icon scenario?
Probably the piece, getting to, did we know what can we do as an industry? I think we need, as anybody's coming up with a new product like that, we need to embrace these folks and tell them there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of capability, there's a lot of help, there's a lot of good sounding boards, if you will, that can help you bring these things across the finish line. We need to make sure as a community people understand it's not competitive. I mean, it's more of a help when you're trying to navigate through a new product development. And if you don't know how to do it and you haven't done it, boy, sure call on those who have.
Mm-hmm. On a similarly negative connotation, how big a check did you have to write to the FAA this year in order to have the tower staffed and everything else, and why is that nonsense still going on?
Oh, Jim, that one is just beyond frustrating, because we tried to get this solved through the FAA reauthorization bill that didn't happen. We actually had an amendment in there that would solve it. This year, it's over $500,000. It's approaching $600,000. We got trapped into this 3 years ago, and we can't seem to get out of it. We're fighting like hell on this one to get legislation done to get us out from under it, because you could project this out at some point. This show doesn't go on anymore.
What are the things that you wanted to do that you couldn't do because the FAA has its hands out?
At some point, you see on an annual basis where we can't do some of the capital improvement programs that we want to do on the grounds. We've got some roads that need to be repaired. We got buildings that we need repair, and those on an annual budget basis is the trade that we have to make. Is do you allocate the funds to getting everything you want done here to keep it going, or are you going to just be paying the tower fee? So it's a big trade. We have yet to impact any of our mission programs as far as what we're doing for youth, education, or any of those areas currently. But again, as you project this thing out, you're going to have to take from somewhere.
In tomorrow's Airborne, the conversation turns to the demographics of aviation. Well, that's our program for today. We'll be back tomorrow with a look at the day's events from AirVenture 2016 at Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I'm Bree Cross. Thanks for watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Get comprehensive real-time 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. We'll see you tomorrow.